Okay guys, today I'm just going to show you a couple of modifications of the harness. I'm going to show you how we change a little bit the loop bungee attachment just to make it a little bit tidier. And if you can see, sometimes if you use a piece of cord that you run all the way through the tri-glide, you end up with quite a high bump on the webbing, which I just don't find it very aesthetic, and I'm not a big fan of having the knots out on display. So we're just going to go ahead and cut that out, okay? So we're going to just see if we can't undo this knot, so I can maybe reuse the cord later. If I can't undo it, then I'll just cut it. There we are. Slide that through, and then off we go. So you'll notice that what I'm using here is a tri-glide, which has got 3 bars, and the middle bar is actually the lower bar. And what that means is that when the tri-glide is installed in the webbing, you actually find yourself with a nice straight flat line, which I'm quite a fan of. What we're then going to do, we're going to take the loop bungee and I'm just going to check the loop itself is actually run through the unit and there's no twists in that unit. Then what I'm essentially going to make is a small holder that holds the loop. And I'm going to hold the top part of the loop so the bottom part is free. So I'm just going to take some fairly thin black cord, again from a hardware store. I'm keeping mine just on an old spool just to kind of keep that tidy. So what we're going to try to do is make our loops. We know that we're going to create a loop here, but what I don't want to do is run through the tri-glide. I actually want to go through the small gaps that you can create just by sliding the webbing out of the way. And this is where having thin enough cord is going to help you. So I'm going to go around the bungee and then back down. And then before I tie that off, I'm just going to check that actually, yep, it's the top part that's sliding and the bottom part is clear. So I know that I can tie this back piece off. So this is going to be my fixed side. So this is the side I want to create with the smallest amount of excess. There we go. That's going to come up here. Now on this side, when I pull this down to length, what I want to end up with is I want to end up with enough slack to let the bungee be clear of the tri-glide, but I don't want so much slack that there's actually not really a lot of purchase coming from the tri-glide itself. But I want to make sure it's not so tight that I'm pinning the bungee onto the tri-glide. And of course the knots will open out a little bit over time. So now I'm here. This is about as much length as I know that I need. So I'm just going to create a cut and take any of my lighters and just cinch those ends. Then I'm going to make one last knot, just a standard overhand knot. I'll take a look, see where I am and say, okay, that's okay, but I can just tidy that up a little bit and just push the knot slightly closer to the tri-glide. And then that's where I'm going to finish. So then all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tidy off the end. Okay, making sure they're nice and tight. And what that's doing is just making the inside a little bit smoother and just making the unit a little nicer compared to the other side. Okay, so now we have the other side finished, and it's the same idea. We've just been checking that it's free to run on the top part, and again, same story with the knots on the underside. One thing that I want you guys just to check out though is that when you have these, it's really important that the top part of the bungee is the piece that runs through the cord. So the bottom piece is easy to catch with the thumb. And one thing that can happen, particularly after you've thrown the kit in the bag and gone wherever you've gone, is that the cord itself, the bungee, can actually twist. And now the top part is clear, and you've actually created a small twist, and you can feel that there's resistance now because of this twist. And what this means is that when you go to pull the loop bungee, this part of the bungee is never activated, which makes it far harder to pull. So just check you've got no twists, and just before the dives, just make sure that this is moving nice and clear, and the two are a mirror image of each other.